On behalf of India Friendship Bonsai Society, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone. Today, our topic is how to develop and nurture exposed root bonsai and make it aesthetically beautiful and a fine piece of art. Our teacher, Master Veer Chaudhary, shall throw light on this amazing style. Veer Sir is a teacher who not only consistently expands his own knowledge, but he shares his knowledge wholeheartedly to all his students in India and overseas. In fact, he is self-taught. He is his own master, his own teacher. Even though he is on his journey to perfect this art, he never shies away from the basic questions which we generally ask of him. He paves the path for us in our own bonsai journey, in our quest. He shares knowledge generously and unstintedly. What makes him a great teacher? He is warm hearted, accessible, enthusiastic, and caring. He has great listening skills and takes time out especially for one and all. His language is very simple and to the point, so anyone can understand what he says. He shares all his secret tips very willingly, for which reason he has a large following all over the world. I welcome Veer Sir to create magic with this much awaited demonstration on exposed root bonsai. Now we have a very pleasant surprise for everyone, wherein Sir shall take us on a tour of his enchanting bonsai garden, his Eden of paradise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Wow. Amazing. organized. Amazing. Mm. Lush green. Wow. Thank you, Veer. It was truly, truly, truly amazing. And
Thank you, ma'am.
everyone is so enthralled. Thank you for sharing your joy with all of us. Now, would you please start? Everyone's waiting eagerly for you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. And a very, very good evening to all of you, especially to all of you who have spared time to come here and listen to me, and also to make this kind of spread bonsai to everybody. So today I'm going to teach you about how you're going to do an exposed root bonsai. Now, before we begin with exactly how to do an exposed root bonsai, I would like to first tell you exactly what is an exposed root bonsai. Now, an exposed root bonsai is nothing but where the roots are totally exposed, and the main focal point, that is the moment when you look at that particular bonsai, the main focal point is the roots. You look at the roots immediately and it shows that they are part of, they are the new trunk of that particular tree. I have only one exposed root in my collection right now. That is this one. Okay, that is this one. So all these are the roots, but the only mistake that I made was I put them very close to each other, which was actually not, which you're actually not supposed to do. This is called Sabinia javanica. It's a flowering plant, flowers very, very profusely. And with the exposed root, what happens is you can bring in a lot of movement. Movement is nothing but these curves that you can see in the branching and on the trunk. You can bring in these curves as much as possible. Now, basically, the exposed root style bonsai was actually developed mainly because of the impatience that we people have. If you look at it, like, there are actually, to make a bonsai, it takes you a minimum of 3 to 4 years, but when you look at the Japanese, they take 10 to 15 years to make a particular bonsai. But we have become, in today's world, we've become so impatient that we want things very quickly. So, what happened was, this idea of the exposed roots is then that had come up actually. Now, this exposed root mainly is for those plants where the trunk doesn't thicken very quickly, where the trunk doesn't thicken very quickly. For example, you have your Wax malfigia, also called the Fucun tree. You have the Carmona microphylla, where again the trunk is very, very slow in thickening. Then you have your Chinese elm, you have your Rhytia. So these kind of varieties are the ones where, instead of waiting for your trunk to thicken, all you have to do is make the roots look like the new trunk. It's just an illusion. They will always remain as roots, but it's an illusion that that is the new trunk for that particular tree. So as we go in today's class where I'm going to do demonstrations, I'm going to explain to you. I'm not going to do a demonstration where I'm going to prove my talent to y'all. I'm going to do a demonstration where I'm going to teach you in such a way that you are going to be so excited and you are going to go back, you are going to go and start off with this particular kind of particular kind of a style because it's very, very exciting and it's very, very simple to do it. So today's demo is mainly about how you're going to make this particular thing. What are the pros in it? What are the cons in it? How do you aesthetically improve that particular bonsai by making it look beautiful? So, I'm going to teach you all these kind of things. But before we move on to exactly the procedure itself. First, I want to show you the different types of containers that you can use to make this exposed root bonsai. So I have a few containers over here, which I want to show you all. Now, these are the traditional methods that people used to follow in the beginning to make these particular roots. These are normal PVC pipes, which we use for the plumbing in our houses. The normal PVC pipes that we use. These are the normal PVC pipes. You get them in different thicknesses like this way. Okay. You get them in different thicknesses like this way, and you can use them accordingly. It doesn't have to be the same height. You can go about whichever one, which I'll go on to the next point and I will explain to you. So this is one particular way by which you can make the exposed root bonsai. Always remember, for an exposed root bonsai, you need something long and something that is cylindrical, and where you can place your plant and you can allow the roots to grow long, so that tomorrow, once after a few years, you are going to design those particular roots as your bonsai, which I will be showing you, and you don't have to get confused about. So this is one particular a kind of a container that you use for the exposed root bonsai. The other is your plastic bottles. That you can use. Now remember, you can see the bend over here. You can cut it off over there, and you can cut it off at the bottom. Again, it becomes a cylindrical container for you. And you can use this. If you want to make a smaller bonsai, you can use a smaller bottle. Okay, so bottles are the next. Then also you can use your chip cans. You have your Pringle chips. You can use your chip cans. Again, they are cylindrical in form. You can use these also. And now recently, what people are doing is, instead of going for the PVCs or going for the bottles, what people are doing is they are using the hydroponic cups, the hydroponic pot. Now, this is an hydroponic pot, of course, but this won't be suitable to make a very big bonsai. I'm just showing it to you as a sample. In the hydroponic, I'll put it against my t-shirt. So in the hydroponic, the pot, what happens is you have openings at the bottom side, and you have closed on the top. So if you look at it at the bottom also, it is very open. So now this is too small for an exposed root bonsai, but you have to search for things that are at least as long as what I'm showing you right now. It should be at least to this height. Now, those kind of containers are available with a very good friend of mine, Mr. Santosh More, who's been doing a lot of these exposed root bonsai. I have ordered about 1,000 pots from him, and he is supplying these pots now. I mean, not this, but at the end of the chat, I think we can put up his phone number, and people can contact him, and you can ask him for the pots, and he can answer you, and he can send it to you. They are very, very interesting. But those of you who don't want to buy the pots, you all can continue with the bottles, because I used to do it with the bottles before I knew about his pots, but now I have ordered for those pots. So these are the containers that you really need, that you really require to make an exposed root bonsai. Now, before we move on to the the procedure of it, I want to tell you about what are the sizes that you can make, what bonsai sizes you can make from an exposed root bonsai. Now, you can make a large bonsai, you can make a shohin, you can make a mame, you can make a shito. It all depends upon the size of your container. It all depends upon the size of your container. If you look at this, you can make a large bonsai out of this. But if you look at this, you can make a mame out of this. Half the size of this, you can make a shohin. Half the size, that is, I'm covering it. So this size, you can make a shohin out of this. And with this size, you can make a shito bonsai. A shito bonsai, for those of you who don't know what a shito bonsai is, a shito bonsai is nothing but a bonsai which is the size of your thumb, the size of your thumb. So for that, you can use the very tiny pot. Okay. So when you want to think about the size you want to make, this is exactly how you go. This the container in which you are going to put your medium in and your plant in has to vary accordingly. So today I will be showing you in the demonstration. Today I will be showing you how to make. I'll be making a shohin for y'all, and I will be explaining to y'all how to do it so that y'all be able to understand it. So today's specimen. Today's specimen is going to be one that I had already put it in a bottle long time ago, but later on what happened a month ago, I had removed the bottle. I have just cut off the bottle over here. I'm going to put it a little closer to the camera and you can see how a little bit of the bottle is still left back in the bottom over here, a little bit. So now you can see the roots that have developed over here. Now, when you want to start the work, that is after putting the plant in the container, when you want to start the work, what happens is you have to wait for these roots to mature a little bit. You need to wait for the roots to mature a little bit, and only then you have to remove the container. Now, this is about 3 months to 4 months old since I have put it in a bottle, and this is the amount of rootage that it has formed. Of course, my climate is very good. My climate is very good for bonsai, for any kind of plants, because we have excess humidity. And what happens is plants grow crazy when you have excess humidity. So for me, always the growth is very fast. I don't need to feed my plants actually too much because already the natural humidity is there, and that brings in a lot of vigor to the plants, So right now, before I show you how exactly I'm going to go about this, I want to show you first the before step on how you actually put it into a container and then after that, I'm going to bring this specimen in. I'm going to dust off the soil. I'm going to wire it, and I'm going to show you the next stage about how do you go about this particular bonsai. Okay. Now, when you want to start a bonsai, when you want to start a root over rock, the first thing you need is a bag of soil or a bigger pot of soil you would require. Always use something big. This is plastic. Somebody's written there, this is plastic. Okay. So what happens is, the reason why you use more soil mainly is, now you have seen my garden recently, just a few minutes ago, you had seen my garden. Most of my plants over there are in plastic bags. I train my plants in these bags, and once they are ready, I shift them into bonsai pots. I save a lot of time using these training bags or training pots, because if you want to start training your plant in a bonsai pot, it's going to take you at least 3 times the time that you can save with a training bag or a training pot. Training bag or training pot is nothing but anything that is deep and holds a lot of soil So you will require a bag of soil. I have put just half soil right now. The remaining I will put it once I put the container. Okay. You will need a very, very basic plant you will need. This is a cutting. this is the cutting which I had put, and it had rooted, and I had just wired the cutting. I didn't have any idea exactly that I was going to make an exposed root out of this. So I had just wired the trunk over here. Forget about all these. These are all the sacrificial branches, which I'll be removing. Don't worry. This is the main plant. This is the main plant that is going down here. So I had actually wired it. And I had just left it like that. But today, since we had the exposed root, I thought, why don't I put this plant into the new container and make an exposed root out of this? So I'm going to teach you with this plant how exactly you go about in doing an exposed root. How do you begin your journey on an exposed root bonsai? So now I'm going to start with this size container. I'm going to start off with. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the soil. Okay. Now the soil is nothing but what is inside the bag is nothing but just my regular bonsai soil. If you want to know about my regular bonsai soil, you can go on to my YouTube, the Bonsaipedia Studio. And over there, I've spoken about half an hour about soil, and you can learn about the soil over there. You will get a detailed description about it. So here you have I have the regular bonsai soil, and inside this, I'm going to put a little different soil. But I'm going to tell you the logic why I'm going to put that little different soil. Now, I'm going to put a soil which has a lot of grit in it. If you can look at this, there are a lot of pieces, brick pieces, and a lot of leca in this. It is a mixture of 2 portions of regular soil, 1 portion of leca. Leca is nothing but small stones like this way, which you can purchase online. Also you can purchase, and of course there is also a wholesale dealer for this. So leca, and then I use 2 portions of brick pieces. Now the logic behind using these brick pieces or the leca in a soil like this way, if you can look at the soil container over there, you can see more of brick and leca rather than the normal soil. Now, when you're doing an exposed root bonsai, the first thing you have to remember is the roots are the most important thing for us in the creation. In the composition, the roots are the most important thing. So we have to make as many roots as possible. So now what happens is when you put now in your soil, okay, is the board visible to everybody? Yeah. So now when you put grit, it's called either grit. Grit is nothing but either stone, brick pieces, leca, anything, and those are called the grit. So when you put this grit, what happens is now you have put your plant inside, and what happens? The roots start developing. Between this grit. Now, when the root meets a particular brick piece or a particular leca, what happens is the root splits into 2. Okay, the root splits into 2. So what happens? It splits into 2. Now this will go. It will hit a grit over there, and what will happen? This will split into 2. So they think that something is blocking over there. So they take a new path. And this new path is taken by splitting. So now just imagine as if you have this much amount of grit in your soil, imagine the amount of splitting that will go on inside the soil over there. So that splitting is very, very important for us when we do exposed root bonsai, because the more the roots, the more artistic it's going to look. So that is the logic behind putting so much of grit in the soil. Another thing you also have to remember is Why are you using brick pieces? You could use granite pieces. You could use normal stones in it. Remember, the advantage of using grit is now see every particular substance, that is, if it is grit, if it is charcoal, if it is leca, each particular substance has something known as CEC. CEC, that is nothing but cationic exchange capacity. Cationic exchange capacity is nothing but the amount of moisture and nutrients that particular substance will hold when you pour it, will hold and supply to the plant. That is called the cationic exchange capacity of each particular substance. Brick has a very good cationic exchange capacity. So when you water your plant, peak summer, when you water your plant, what happens is the brick will hold moisture, and even when your soil dries up, the brick will supply the moisture to your roots, will supply the moisture to your roots. So that is why brick is very, very good, very, very easy and easily affordable and easily available too. So that's why I encourage a lot of people to use brick in their soil and don't use just flattened, just soil. If you use just soil, the kind of splitting wouldn't happen in your soil. You understood? And also, if you just use soil without grit, what happens? As you keep watering every day and every day and every day, what happens is that soil keeps getting compressed, and all the air pockets in your soil get clogged. And what happens? Your roots start suffocating. So it's always good to mix grit. It's always good to use to mix grit, leca, stones, such kind of stuff into your soil so that those air pockets do not get compressed and do not get clogged. Do not get clogged. So this is the logic behind using stones, a lot of brick pieces, a lot of leca in your soil. Another thing I really wanted to tell you, another advantage I want to tell you about using what size you really have to use when you're doing an exposed root style. Now, always remember, in an exposed root style, the bigger the bonsai, the more the movement you want in your trunk. That means, for example, that means, for example, now when I put a plant for an exposed root style, I won't expect the root to come straight. Instead, I would want the root to have a lot of movement. Okay. So what happens is now, if you want a lot of movement in your root over rock, it depends first upon the size of the bonsai that you are going to make. Now I am going to make a larger bonsai. So when you have a larger bonsai, you need wider movement in your roots. When you make a smaller bonsai, because a larger bonsai has a longer length. It has a longer length. Whereas a smaller bonsai, the length is little. So what happens in that little thing, you need a lot of movement. So the movement is tiny over here and the movement is a little more broad over there. So the magic in that is nothing but all you have to do is the bigger the bonsai, use the bigger the stone. Okay, the bigger the brick piece. The smaller the bonsai, you can use the smaller the brick piece. Okay, but a good idea will be the bigger the bonsai, mix both. Mix big ones, small ones, medium ones, mix everything, because what happens is when your roots keep splitting, what happens? They will also some will get the tiny movement, some roots will get the bigger movement, like that. And what happens is automatically you will have a cluster of beautiful movement in your roots already once you have removed the long container. once you have removed the long container. So I hope you understood the logic behind using a big stone and a small stone, because it plays a very, very good impact in making an exposed root bonsai, which of course is not written in books or not shown anywhere, but it just comes out of practice, or it is somebody's observation where, yeah, since I've been doing it, I have observed it and I have felt it very useful when I was doing it. So now what happens is, in the pipe, inside the pipe, I will be using this particular soil. Okay, but outside the pipe, I can either use the normal soil or I can carry on using this. There's no hard and fast rule that you have to use only regular bonsai soil here and the gritty soil inside. There's no hard and fast rule that over there. You can use even both. You can use gritty soil for both of them. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up to at least half of the pipe. At least to half of the pipe, I'm going to fill up the new soil. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to dust off all the soil and I'm going to bare root this and show it to you all. Okay. Anybody has any doubts, just put it in the chat box so that the questions will be answered at the end of the session. The reason why I don't want to answer it during the session is mainly because I don't want the flow of this to go, because at the end of it, what will happen is you won't be able, you may get confused. So that's the reason why. But if it is like, you know, something related to that particular procedure, what I'm doing at that particular time, Dolly ma'am is there watching out for your questions, and she will definitely read it out to me, and I will answer it immediately. So now I've bare rooted this completely. I've removed all the roots over there. Now I don't need the sacrifice branches. So I'm removing all the sacrifice branches. Okay. So I have got only this plant now. Now there is something that you really need to know about this part of the procedure. Now, when you are doing an exposed root bonsai, I've always been emphasizing use a young plant. The reason why I'm telling you to use a young plant is these roots which are at the base are still flexible. They are still flexible. So what happens is when you bend it, when you put it inside, you don't get a reverse taper over here. Whereas when you use a mature plant, the previous one, the demo which I showed you, I actually used a little mature plant. So what happened was I happened to get a bit of reverse taper over there. But of course, reverse taper nowadays is not a problem at all. It is part and parcel of bonsai. It's become part and parcel of bonsai because trees in nature does have reverse taper. The reason why they say don't allow reverse taper mainly is because the aesthetic value of your bonsai goes down a little bit. So it's not that it's wrong, but it's just that the aesthetics of the bonsai, you know, plunges a little lower. So that is the reason why they say try to avoid a reverse taper in your bonsai. But then now you have the new style called the lignan style. In the lignan style, when you see most of the lignan style trees, they have reverse taper. So that is why I say choose young plants. Choose young plants. Now, when you are putting the plant into the container, do not make the plant go wriggly like this way. The roots shouldn't go wriggly like this way. Instead, the roots should go straight down like that way. Because again, if they go wriggly like this way, and when they mature, what happens is that particular portion again will show reverse taper. So that is why look at your roots and put the soil first according to that particular level, and then put your plant inside, okay, like that way. Make sure all the roots are gone inside, put your plant inside like that way, and then fill in more soil into it. then you fill in more soil into it. Now what happens is when you do it like this way, what happens is your plant won't get that wriggly, round, wriggly effect. It won't get. Instead, all your roots will go straight down. So these are all the points that you have to keep in mind when you're doing it, because these play the aesthetic role when you are removing the container. When you are removing the container, this is what will play the aesthetic role. Now you take a chopstick and start digging it inside so that the soil gets nice and compact inside. Okay, the soil should get nice and compact inside. There shouldn't be any air pockets over there, and make sure your roots are nice and tightly wrapped into the soil. Okay, and you leave it like this way. And now what you do, fill up the bag over here. I'm going to fill it up with the same soil. Okay, so that your container remains, so that the container, your pipe remains nice and strong and steady. And then, being a packet, it's always good to fold your packet like this way at the top portion, mainly because we are so lazy to hold the packet at the bottom. And what happens when you have this double layer, when you hold the packet like this, it never tears. So that's the reason why I always fold up the end part of it. I don't fold it too much, but just the end part of it, I fold it like that way. Now, what happens is, once you have done this, you have to water your plant nicely. Do not feed it until and unless new shoots have started to arrive. Okay. Now, the best way to make this plant survive, because we have removed all the soil and we have bare rooted it. Remember, any plant, if you wanted to survive quickly, if you wanted to get back to you as quick as possible, the best method is defoliate the plant completely. Defoliate, remove all the leaves completely, but that again depends upon species to species. So you need to know which species you are working upon. Okay, and you also have to know whether that particular species takes partial defoliation or complete defoliation. This being a Premna, it takes partial defoliation. So this takes complete defoliation. So I'm removing all the leaves. Now what happens is, you just keep it in the shade, water it properly, allow it to grow. See, that's a plant. Allow it to grow nicely, allow it to give out new shoots. And once it starts giving out new shoots, always remember, feed it nicely. The feeding, I will tell you about it. In the last point, I will tell you exactly about how you feed it. So right now, I'm going to keep this aside, and I'm going to bring back that particular specimen over there, which I had shown you earlier. I'm going to bring back that particular specimen onto the table, so that I'm going to show you what we would do if that particular plant is time for us to remove the container. What exactly do we do after that? Okay. Now I have put it previously. I have put it into the container for y'all. Now I have removed the container, and this is exactly how it is. And this is exactly how it is. And this is exactly how the plant has grown. Let's think about it that way. Now, the first thing you have to do again, you are going to bare root it again. So what you have to do, when I say bare root it, always defoliate your plant. Okay. When you defoliate it like this, what happens? All the nodes get activated with a frisk. So what happens? Chances of more shoots coming out is possible, rather than cutting it with a scissor. But not all plants take this vigorous kind of an action. You need to be gentle on a few varieties like the hawthorn. These kind of varieties, you need to be a little careful about it when you are doing it. So I am just defoliating the whole plant. I'm doing it as fast as possible because anyway, I'm a little used to it. The lesser the leaf, because see, always remember, see, there's logic again behind why are you defoliating a tree. See, everything is logic, you know, behind it's all logic behind. See, it's nothing but when a tree grows in nature, what happens? That particular tree actually develops roots in the ground. It develops roots in the ground. While it's developing roots in the ground, proportionately, even it starts growing its leaves above, because those particular roots are able to supply as they keep multiplying more and more. What happens is they know that I can supply more number of leaves and more number of leaves keep growing. So the healthier your root system, the faster your tree keeps growing. So now what happens when you are repotting, it, and suppose you haven't defoliated your plant, now what happens? When you are doing a repot, you are cutting off the roots. So that means you have disrupted the ratio between the leaves and the roots. You have disrupted the ratio. So what happens? The plant goes into a stress. But when you are removing all the leaves, the roots have no work. Other than to bring out fresh leaves, because there are no leaves at all. Everything has become bare. So what happens? Your plant doesn't go into stress. So that is the logic behind when you're disrupting the ratio of the root system, then you have to reduce the leaf also, either completely or partially, and definitely your plant will get back to you and there is no chances of dying. But then again, when there are chances of it dying, if you pour too much of water, because when your plant is defoliated, it doesn't require water and your soil doesn't dry up quickly. So what happens at that particular time, if you keep just pouring water regularly, like normally how you pour water, if you keep pouring it for the plant, what happens? Dieback will start coming. So only pour water when the top layer of your plant, when it slightly dries up, that is when you have to pour water again for your plant, for when it is defoliated and doesn't have any leaf I'm talking about. So when you follow that kind of a procedure, you won't get a dieback for your plant. Okay, so I've defoliated most of it. The remaining anyway, the plant is going to get a chop. Okay, so most of it will again go away. Now see, I told you I have used a mature plant. So when I use a mature plant, see, this is what, can you see this ball over here? This ball is what will happen, and where even, in fact, when I remove the soil, there will be reverse taper on this particular portion. That is the reason why I tell you, use young plants and put the roots down so that you don't get that reverse taper. Okay. So now I'm going to bare root the plant. If you look at all these roots over here, if you look, the white color roots, when there are white color roots, it means your plant is very, very healthy, very, very healthy. And they are called the feeder roots. They are called the feeder roots. Feeder roots are nothing but the very, very tiny, hairy roots that are there. They are the slave system of your roots. Okay. When you throw in fertilizer, it is these roots that quickly pick it up and start supplying it to the plant. And always remember, your feeder roots are on the outer part of the container always. They are over here. That is why in most of my classes and everybody, I always tell them, whenever you feed your plant, feed it on the outer circle rather than feeding it on the plant. Feed it on the outer side so that the feeder roots are here. Immediately they catch it and they supply it to your plant. So this one, I'm going to just remove the soil and get back again. Dolly ma'am, are there any questions?
Very few questions, sir. You are explaining
Yeah.
so well.
You want me to ask some? You want me to answer any of them, ma'am?
Yeah. Sultana is asking, can we use marble
Marble for
instead of grit?
marble chips? See,
Yeah, marble
see,
chip.
ma'am, yeah, marble chips. Of course, you can use marble chips, but what happens is marble chips don't play a role because they don't absorb water and they don't absorb nutrients. So use something that absorbs water and nutrients, because when they absorb water and nutrients, what happens is you get your plant remains healthy. Your plant remains healthy, and your plant gets the nourishment. And even if you're living in the north, the summers are so harsh that what happens, these bricks are going to be helpful for you, or the leaker is going to be helpful for you, because they will hold the moisture in your soil for a little longer while, So that is why use something that holds moisture and holds nutrition, ma'am, rather than just going for something that is not going to. So here's the bottle. Remaining part of the bottle. Can you see the roots that have developed nicely down? So now I'm just removing the bottle portion so that we can dust off the soil that is inside here. Next one, Dolly ma'am. Any more questions? So I've removed it.
Bougainvillea?
Yes, bougainvillea is a slow growing trunk until and unless you put it into the ground. So you can do bougainvilleas also like this way. They look very, very interesting. You can make something like this. Again, I'm going to just dust off all this soil. And always remember, an air layered cutting will give you better roots than a root cutting. Because when you air layer a particular plant, the roots come from all sides. Whereas for a root cutting, what happens is you don't get in some sides of the particular plant, you won't get roots.
Can you show how you are removing PVC pipe?
I didn't remove the PVC pipe, ma'am. I mean, actually, I just cut off the bottle using the thing. The PVC pipe, if you want to remove it, see, a good idea is with the PVC pipe, that's a nice question. With the PVC pipe, what you have to do is before you put the plant in, you can cut it off like this way. You can cut it off like this way so that you can open up the pot like this. If you want, even you can cut it off on this side, okay? Then what you do, join both together and put your tags. You have these plastic tags. You put those tags over here, tag over here, put your plant inside. When your plant is ready to be removed, cut off your tags, and you can just remove off the plastic. And again, it's reusable. But for me, what I do is when I use a PVC, I just take a wooden hammer. And start beating it slowly all over like this way. I just keep slowly beating it. The soil gets loose and then you can pull out the plant. Okay?
So no need to cut.
Yeah, I don't need to cut because I'm using the wooden hammer, ma'am. See, there you go. See the roots? Okay?
Yes, sir. Nice.
Yeah, so this is how the roots will be. Okay? Now, the magic is nothing but this is going to be your new trunk line and not this and not this. And always remember, in aesthetics, when I talk about aesthetics, when you bring movement to the trunk, when you bring movement through the trunk, your branches also should have similar movement. Your branches also. For example, you have a tree over here. You have a tree. If you look at the trunk doesn't have too much movement. It doesn't have too much movement. So the branches also do not have too much of movement. That is when they blend with one another. If your trunk has such drastic movement, then your branches also require that drastic movement. Only then the thing will start. Now, suppose your trunk has such drastic movement and your branches are all straight, it will look weird. It will look weird. The blend won't happen. And aesthetically, it won't look beautiful. So that is the reason why, you know, the branching always depends upon the movement in your branches, always depends upon the movement in your trunk. The movement in your trunk. Okay. So when I'm going to wire this, and make this my new trunk line and bring in about a bit of movement over here. Now here, if you look at this trunk portion over here, it is too straight. It is too straight. So with this, it doesn't mean that the bonsai is over. With this, it doesn't mean that the bonsai is over. Now you're going to bring in a movement. You're going to chop it down. You're going to get, you need himmat for this. You're going to cut it down. And then again, you're going to grow it. And while you are growing it, you are going to start styling it and go on to the third stage. You understand? That's when you go on to the third stage. So you have to go step by step in bonsai. And so now I don't want that movement. I don't want this straightness over here because my roots are going to take in a lot of movement. So I'm not going to keep this straightness. So what I have to do, I have to go down as much as possible, you know, I have to go down as much as possible like that way. I know I look like a madman chopping like this way, but then you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it for a reason. And for that movement, for you to get that movement, you have to do it like that way. Now, all you have to do is take wire. Now you take your wire, take a little thick wire, okay? This is 3 mm. This is 3 mm wire that I'm taking. Now you take wire and you have to loosely wire the roots. Now see, Premna has the tendency to fuse, just like ficuses. Premna has the tendency to fuse. So do not put them very, very close to each other because over a period of time, what will happen? They won't look like roots. Instead, they will look like a trunk. Okay. So forever, for an exposed root composition, always the root should look like roots only to us. So that is why do not wire them very, very close to each other. So now I'm going to wire the roots alone. I'm going to put my anchor over here. Okay. And I'm going to take it around there. Now remember, I told you about taper, right? Taper means, taper is nothing but every tree in nature is triangular in format. It's triangular in format. So that means as the trunk keeps going higher and higher, it becomes thinner and thinner. So the same format you have to follow over here. You have to follow over here. So that is why do not press it too much over here and do not keep it, do not press it too much at the bottom and do not keep it too thick, too loose at the top, because you need to form that triangular format. Okay.
You're doing loose wiring?
Yeah, loose, very loose wiring, ma'am. See, very loose wiring. Can you see? Okay. Now what happens is this portion will become your taper portion. This portion will become your taper portion like that way. And it will look thicker than this above portion. So when you plant it into a new container, you have to plant it this way. You understand? So here I have reverse taper, here I have reverse taper. And now I can put another wire onto it, and the similar manner, I can put another wire onto it. And then I can bring in some movement to the roots.
How long we can keep it like this?
Keep what, ma'am?
How long we can keep it like this?
Keep what? The wire or the plant in the pot?
Wire, sir, wire.
The wire, you should get an illusion that it would have settled down. You get an illusion, ma'am.
1 year.
But I think about 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, I think will be enough.
For you, sir, it's 6 months, and for us, it's 1 year.
No, ma'am. Even you can do it. Now, bend it.
Oh,
Forget about the wires. Forget about the wires splitting up, because when you do loose wiring, what happens? The wires will split up. Okay. You can bring in whatever movement you want to the plant. And what happens is at the end of it, now you have to again put it into another container you have to put it into. Okay. So what happens is now you can put it into another container again, but this time use a little broader container you have to use. Use a little broader container, so that what happens is now when you put it like that way, you have to split the roots at the bottom and put it in like this way, so that it can create your taper portion over there. It can create your taper portion over there. So you need to spread it out like this way, and you have to put it over there. Okay. And what happens, you can start designing this particular part. So you can start designing this particular part of your tree like a semi cascade, and you can do. Now for a root, for an exposed root, if you look at the style, for an exposed root, when you look at the style, so regarding the potting, I will do it later on. Okay. I will do it later on, but this is exactly how you go on to the next style of taking your exposed root further down the lane. Okay. But I do have a specimen which has been lying in a plastic bag for the past say, like, for about 6 years. It's been lying like, here's another bend I made again. See? So you can make it like that, and you can put it like this way in the container over here, and wait for it to grow, wait for it to settle down, wait for it to grow. And then what happens is, as it is growing, you can work on the structure over there, and by the time your plant will get. But still, this is too straight for such a movement, So again, I have to go a little more back. Again, I have to go, and I will update this. I will update this particular plant on Facebook regularly, so that y'all can watch every 3 months. I think I'll put up a photograph. I'll open up an album, and I'll put up a photograph for y'all, so that y'all be able to look at the transformation that is happening for this particular plant. So I do have a plant which has been lying in a plastic bag for the past 5 to 6 years. It is the Feronia lucida. Feronia lucida, most of you know, is the mini wood apple, and that also the trunk doesn't thicken very fast. And that is a very, very good specimen, another very, very good specimen for exposed root bonsai. Actually, we thought today we will do a demonstration of that, so that I can show you a complete root over, an exposed root like this way. It will turn out like this way. But then everybody said, no, let's learn the procedure more than doing it. So that is why we think. So what I'll do is I'll come up with a Facebook Live or something, and where I will show you all on how to style that particular, how I can style that particular tree. Okay. So that it'll be interesting for y'all to know it, because when I'm doing it, it'll take me a minimum of 45 minutes to do it, and we don't have the time to do it today. So this is as much as we really need to know, and this is how exactly you need to go. But regarding the aesthetics part of it, I want to again go back on it, and I want to tell you all about the aesthetics that you have to keep in mind when you're doing this. The first thing is no negative spacing. Try to avoid your negative spacing. Avoiding negative spacing can happen only when your roots are young. When your roots are young, do not allow your roots to mature too much. Once they mature too much, what happens? Roots usually go like that, and then they start going down. So that flare, that part over there which flares, the Nabari part of it, is where you will get the junction of negative spacing. So when they are young, what happens, even though they flare like that, you can put wire and you can press it down and you can bring it down straight. You can bring it down straight. Okay. The next thing, always match your movement of your trunk with the movement of your branches. If you don't do that, your exposed root will look a little awkward, it will look. The third thing you need to remember, taper. Taper has to be shown with the roots. The illusion is that the new roots which you have exposed is the new trunk line for the particular plant. So that is why that illusion has to be shown very, very nicely with the taper, because until and unless you bring that taper to the plant, the beauty will not show at all. If you look at this, it's broader over here, it's broader over here, and it goes thinner towards this side. So that is why, because the taper is there, this is exactly how, you know, the moment you look at it, it gives a nice wow feel it gives you. So taper is very, very important. And always I've noticed that whenever I've seen exposed root bonsai, you can make them in any styles. You can make them in any styles. But the most impressive and most attractive styles for exposed root bonsai is either a cascade or a semi-cascade. Either a cascade or a semi-cascade, they look extra special, they look. I don't mean to say the other styles don't look good. Please don't take me wrong. But what I mean to say is these two styles are very, very, very attractive compared to the other styles. If you look at this here, you can already make out how beautiful it looks, you know, an exposed root style. It's a nice cascade over here, like that way. And when it flowers, I have a picture of the flowers. When it flowers, for me, it flowers completely, and all the flowers hang like bells. They hang like bells over here. So it's so attractive when you look at it when it is flowering. And flowers profusely during the season time. And a very, very good specimen for bonsai. It's called the Sabinia javanica, for those of you who missed it at the beginning. And now the aftercare. Pour good water for the plant. Always make sure that you are pouring water in the pipe, okay? In the pipe, so that the roots are getting drenched nicely, and also at the same time, you're wetting the inside of this. So make sure first you are thoroughly wetting here, and all the water is nicely going down, because right now all your main roots are inside over here and nothing is in the container over here. So make sure you are watering it nicely. Always remember, any material, if you want it to grow very, very fast, use a high nitrogen NPK. Use a high nitrogen NPK so that your plants grow more vigorously. But once your bonsai is ready, then my advice, go for a low nitrogen fertilizer when your bonsai is ready. So that is why all my materials I use a high nitrogen, and whereas all my finished bonsai I use a low nitrogen. Low nitrogen will give you a lot of flowers, a lot of fruits it will give you. So always remember, once your bonsai is ready, you have to go for a low nitrogen fertilizer. So this is as much as I wanted to tell you. And from that, I got one particular root had sprouted. So why to leave that little fellow alone? Let's do something to him and finish it. So how about making a small mame out of that? So take some wire. Take some wire, wire the plant. petition. Why are your plants? Okay. Why your plant? Okay, nice and straight it is. Now just do your magical bend. Okay.
So how to take care in dry climate?
What, ma'am?
How to take care in dry climate like Jaipur?
In a dry climate like Jaipur, what you have to do is just water. Put it in a when you have your peak summers, you need to put it into a green shade, ma'am. You need to put the plant in a green shade.
And
And
what are
then
the
take a
other
nice
species
other species for
exposing this root?
you can use any plant, but my advice, don't use ficuses, because what happens is ficuses, when you expose the root, what happens over a period of time, the roots actually tend to grow very fast. Ficuses, the roots grow very fast. So what happens is over a period of time, they will overtake the little trunk portion that is there, and it will look more like a normal bonsai than an exposed root bonsai. So use varieties like Premna, Hawthorn, Savinia javanica. You can use Chinese elm, you can use bougainvilleas, you can use, there are countless number of plants that you can use with this style.
Tamarind.
Countless number of plants. Pardon me, ma'am?
Somebody asked tamarind.
Yeah, tamarind also is another good plant which you can use. Tamarind, the trunk doesn't thicken very quickly. So you can make an exposed root out of it. But always remember, species is very, very important. Now, because it is a Premna, I really manhandled the Premna. I really manhandled the Premna because I know deep inside, I know that Premna will get back. But for a tamarind, if you do the similar kind of a method, what happens is it will go into shock and it will die. So what you have to do is when you are removing the containers for certain varieties, certain exclusive varieties like the rain trees or like the tamarind, you know what you have to do is you have to start removing the container little by little. First you remove this, then after another 3 months, go a little lower, then after another 3 months or 4 months, go a little lower, and gradually what happens is the roots get set and finally they develop very nicely. But if you just remove it immediately, what happens is the plant can go into a shock, because not all species can take this kind of treatment. So you need to look at your species and you need to wait. Trifolia trifascia is another very, very beautiful bonsai for an exposed root style, because Trifolia trifascia, the trunk never thickens and the berries are always there and they're so attractive. So imagine something you have like this and then you have those berries hanging over here. It'll look very, very attractive. So actually the exposed root style was mainly because we could show slow growing plants as quick bonsai, Plants that don't thicken very quickly, immediately you can show them with the help of the roots, with the taper in the roots, you can show it like it's a beautiful bonsai already and it's been growing for years. So that is what you need to remember.
Can we do on juniper?
Juniper, I've seen on the internet junipers and pines. Some people have done it, but you have to be super careful. And our climate, junipers and pines and all don't suit. So you need to be super careful, because normally when you wire them itself, even though they are in good compact soil, and if you're wiring them itself, they tend to die. So you can imagine if you're exposing the roots. So you need to be very, very gradual, super slow, and kind of exposing them. Somebody's written Jade over there. Yeah, Jade also you can do it. Jade also you can do, ma'am. No problem. And there you have a nice, cute little mame over here. Put some soil.
Itex, boxwood.
Yeah, boxwood you can, ma'am. Boxwood again, slowly you have to expose the root. Don't expose it quickly. Never expose it quickly, okay? Because it's a sensitive plant.
So can you do it on juniper as well?
Yeah, junipers, that's what I said, ma'am. Our climate doesn't suit, but be very, very careful. On the internet, I've seen a lot of exposed root junipers, exposed root pines I've seen. But when they are not suitable for our climate, don't handle them that crazily. Be very slow in that. With the Prostata, I think you can do it because, you know, that is good for our climate and you can, I mean, it suits the Indian climate and gradually you can bring in something, gradually you can do something out of it. There, I have a nice Mame bonsai.
It's
So that's as much, ma'am. Dolly, ma'am, are there any more questions? So over to you.
yeah. Over, sir.
Over.
Over to Urvashi.
Okay.
Hello. What a spectacular show, Veer. On behalf of our very enthusiastic president, Harsha Hinduja, a lady with dignity, grace, and beauty. Harsha, you make a whole club shine. The members, the participants, and all involved with the club. You symbolize truth, dignity, and a crusade of hope for our own club. Veer, we are so honored to have you, to have known you. You are one of the greatest masters in India. You share knowledge so generously. You are very well informed and experienced. In fact, the whole world of bonsai is very lucky to have you.
Thank you, ma'am.
A master like you, yes. You are one person in a million, and yet so simple and approachable. We all, members of IFPS and our dear president, would like to wish you a life full of fame, fortune, and great blessings. Thank you, Veer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
India Friendship Bonsai Society is very lucky to have senior and experienced members like Madhuri Sakseria, Sneh Parashar, Charuben Patel, Hansaben Shah, Veena Matre, and many, many more. They're like pillars. I would like to thank Dolly for managing the question and answers so well. And last but not the least, all our committee members, Nirmala Devra, Maya Patel, Charuben Patel, Parul Lakrawala, Dolly Agarwal, Madhuri Sakseria, Sunita Thakkar, Asha Jingan, Dolly Rajawat, and Usha Nanavati. And also all our dedicated members who are always ready to help. We are really, very lucky. Thank you once again, Veer. Thank you so much. We enjoyed every minute and it was super learning. It was a super show.
Yeah. And for those, just one more announcement, for those of you who still feel that you need a recap of this, the recording will come up and we will share it on YouTube and all of you can watch it on YouTube and it will be, you can have another recap if in case you all have got confused somewhere in between. So definitely once the video is ready, Harsha ma'am will give it to us and we will put it on YouTube for all of you. Thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure. I think I've seen 600 people today.
Yes.
And I'm really so thankful to all of you for trusting us, for coming, for spreading bonsai, and also IFBS for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share knowledge with all of you. Because I always know that you always love me and you always trust me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you so much, Harsha ma'am.
Thank you, Veer.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a nice day and happy exposed root.
Thank you. We're going to make and show you.
Yes, happy exposed root bonsai making.
Yes, we'll make tomorrow only. Yes.
Yes. Harsha ma'am. You're on mute, Harsha ma'am.
I said, thanks to you, I've already started. I made two already.
Yeah,
Thanks to you, sir.
You
Yeah,
already started.
yeah.
Yes,
Thanks
ma'am.
to you, sir.